One of the biggest challenges that we see with most design teams is component management. Traditionally, what you'll notice is that their local library files are going to be stored on a network drive, and this would be shared with the team. Now, this kind of presents some challenges on its own. For example, you'll never really be sure if you're using the latest library file or if you're using the latest version of that component. Now, when using Altium 365, we can essentially eliminate most of those issues. In Altium 365, all of your components are going to be stored in one centralized location. So there's no longer going to be the need to store some of these files on the network drive or send any of these library files back and forth between your colleagues. Not only do we have everything in one location now, but we also have it broken down per component type. Now, not only does it give us better organization, but we can also get more information about our component that's actually stored within the workspace itself. For example, each component is going to have a unique component ID. This is going to ensure that you don't have any duplicate components within Altium 365 and that every single component is going to be unique. Each component is also going to follow a life cycle that you've defined. Whether you want to deem the component as prototype or production or obsolete, this is entirely up to you. An additional benefit of using Altium 365 is that we can also assign a component template to a component. This way here, every time we create a new component using that template, we'll all have the same information. Now, of course, each component has to have a symbol and a footprint, but we can actually see which symbol and footprint is being used for this component. These models would also be stored within 365 as well. Every time a component or an item is edited and recommitted to the server, it'll create a new revision. So this is going to give us full traceability on what was changed for each item. While speaking about traceability, we can also see where this component is being used, whether it's a part of a certain project or a certain schematic. Not only does it give us additional information on where this component is being used, but we can also rest assured that it will not be deleted because it's being used. Now let's look at how we can place some of these components into our design. When using the components in Altium 365, we have greater navigation because each of our components are broken down per component type. Once the component type is selected, it's going to filter through the entire managed library and only find components that are based on that component type. Now, if you wanted to take this a step further and you wanted to target a specific component based on some of its parameters, we can use the parametric filtering. This is where we can choose to select components based on its package size, its value, and more. Now, I already have the 0805 package filter enabled, but I'll also enable a filter for the value as well. We can see that we're now narrowed down to 2 components, and we can go ahead and place this into our design. Now, all of the information about this component will be seen in the Components panel as well. We can take a look at its parameters, some of the models, where it's being used, as well as its datasheets. Now, if you're not sure which component you want to use, we can actually compare 2 components side by side. Now, when looking at the parameters of each of these components, you'll notice that some of these parameters are highlighted in red. This is going to give us a visual of which parameters are different between the 2 components. That way there you can make the proper selection. Now, when using Altium 365, you can ensure that you're pulling components from the proper location every time.